welcome. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday. For some of you it might be morning, for some of you it might be afternoon, for some of you it might be PJ time. We have kids joining us from all over the world, and we are going to get started very soon. I'm just going to share my screen very quickly, some information for you. I'm actually going to go backwards a little bit. This is midway through my presentation. Wait, I can go backwards. Here we go. So the event will start soon. And what will we learn today? We'll learn all about the James Webb Space Telescope. We'll learn what this telescope will see. What can we learn from its findings? We have some of the cool features about this telescope. And the most important thing, we're going to be learning from a lead systems engineer who works on the telescope. So you could probably see Dr. Vila right now. You could give her a wave. You could welcome her. I'm actually also going to start a poll. I can find the poll. It's just some fun trivia and facts and questions for you while we wait for everybody to join. So question 1, what is your favorite space movie? I did not list them all, but I listed the ones that I could remember. Question 2, did you attend our last event? Question 3, how old is Earth? Question number 4, what do we call a huge collection of gas, dust, and billions of stars in your solar systems all held together by gravity? Try to read really fast. And question 5, this is a good one. Have you heard of the James Webb Space Telescope? And question 6, have you submitted a piece of art to NASA's Unfold the Universe challenge? So we are at 12 o'clock. We're just going to let some more people join. We'll get started in just a second. Everyone is muted right now. Not everyone will have their screens on, but I will tell you a little bit more about that when we get started. I'm gonna also just put on the screen the supplies you need for our activity. So we are making a pinwheel galaxy, spinning galaxy pinwheel. My words are mixed up. So you will need the printout, you'll need a pipe cleaner, you'll need a popsicle stick or chopsticks or anything else you could find, scissors and a single hole puncher. If you're a little mad scientist, you might need an adult helper. If you don't have these things, that's okay. We're recording this, so you can find the instructions. We sent them to your grown-ups, or you can find this on our Mad Science YouTube page a little bit later on. So if you don't have these things, that's okay. You can just sit back and relax and watch us make the activity. Okay, so I think I'm going to end the poll. So get in your last votes, and I'll read out the answers, or the results, I should say. So what is your favorite space movie? Star Wars won. Star Wars was 45%. Question 2, did you attend our last event where we made a star life cycle bracelet? Most of you said no. Where were you? We missed you. You can find that on our YouTube page too. So if you're curious about how to make that, you don't have to miss out. You can go back and watch that. Question 3, how old is Earth? Most of you got it correct. It is billions of years old. Question 4, the answer was galaxy, and we'll learn a lot about galaxies coming up. Question 5, have you heard of the James Webb Space Telescope? No. 59% of you said no. Well, you're about to learn a ton about it. And question 6, have you submitted a piece of art to NASA's Unfold the Universe challenge? Most of you said no, but I am going to tell you how to do that at the end of this presentation. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing just for a little bit. Welcome, I can see all your smiling faces. Everybody has their camera on, give us a wave. Okay, so hello all of you junior mad scientists and space enthusiasts out there, and welcome to the Mad Science event, our All Systems Go Webb Space Telescope launch. My name is Jupiter Jen, and I am so very excited to be with you today. We have a fun-filled, jam-packed hour planned for you. First, we're going to be making our spinning galaxy pinwheel, which you can see here. Might be cut off a bit, but hopefully you can see it. Then our very special guest, Dr. Begoña Vila, will be joining us all the way from the Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland. Dr. Vila is an astrophysicist and lead systems engineer, like I mentioned, for 2 of the instruments on the James Webb Space Telescope. So we'll learn all about it. It's launching into space very soon. So what will it see? What will we learn from it? How does it work? Dr. Vila will be answering your questions. We collected already over 100 questions from the registration page, and we pre-selected some, and we hope we can answer some live questions as well. And don't forget to stick around until the very end, since we're doing a prize giveaway for 4 lucky winners. We'll be giving away Mad Science's Loop Lab STEM subscription gross science box. And like I said, I'll also tell you about how to enter NASA's Unfold the Universe Challenge. So some quick technical tips before you get started. If you're having any issues hearing us or seeing us, we recommend you try joining from another device if you have one handy. This virtual meeting might be a bit different than the ones you're used to. Like I said, everyone's muted so we can hear our guest speaker. We don't have any background sounds. As well, because there's so many kids who've joined us today, we only have space for a few cameras to be on. So if you can't see yourself, that's okay, as long as you can see and hear us. Some of you might have already noticed we have a Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. And for those of you with your cameras off, you can message us with any feedback, questions. You can say hi. We have a team of mad scientists to get through as many as we can. And speaking of questions, one of my favorite questions to answer is, what is mad science? Now, I bet some of you already know mad science from your local communities, but what you might not know is we are the world's leading science enrichment provider for kids aged 3 to 12. We have a global reach of 150 locations in over 20 countries and counting. And we actually had kids from over 45 countries register for this very event. Some of those countries include USA, Canada, Australia, Mexico, India, and the United Kingdom. So give a wave to the other kids on the call. There are hundreds of you on the call. And if you didn't hear your country called, let us know where you're from in the Q&A field below. We'd love to know where you're from. We also absolutely love bringing fun and educational science programs to kids. We do birthday parties, after school programs, summer camps, workshops, and virtual events just like this one. So the fun doesn't have to stop here. So be sure to look out for some mad science locations near you. Okay, so we're gonna get started now. If everyone has their supplies, you can give me a thumbs up if I can see you. And we are going to start by making our spinning galaxy pinwheel. Now I'm going to be sharing some instructional videos to help you along. I might go a little quickly because I definitely want to make sure we have enough time for all the fun stuff that Dr. Vila has to share. If you need more time to make your pinwheel, if you don't have all the supplies, if you're grown-ups, you need help and they're in the next room and they're not available. If you're not going at the same speed as I am, that is a-okay. You can use the instructions we sent your grown-ups, or you can look out for this video on our YouTube page, and we will be posting it in a few days, and you can replay the instructions as many times as you like. Okay, so let me just share my screen here. So we're gonna get started. Here we go. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see this here. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our paper and we're going to cut out the hexagonal shape. So hopefully everyone can see this cutting. This is one of the simpler steps. You're just gonna get rid of all the white space around. Yeah, you guys are doing great. I see William and Magda, I see Everett. It's looking good, guys. Now this galaxy that you're looking at is actually called the pinwheel galaxy. So it makes sense that we're making a pinwheel out of the pinwheel galaxy. And this galaxy is located in the Ursa Major constellation. If you know what the common name is for Ursa Major, you could type it into the Q&A below. I'll give you the answer in the second step. I can read your lips, Anika. You are correct. Okay, so I see that everybody looks to be about the same speed as I am. So I'm going to go to the next step, which is cut along the white lines. So there's 6 white lines. You're going to want to cut only where the white is. Don't go in the center. So you'll see where my scissors stops. The answer to the question is the Big Dipper. That is the common name for Ursa Major. It looks like what I cook my spaghetti in. I can always spot it in the sky. For me, it's the easiest one to spot. Okay, so I think that most people have their white lines cut. Everybody's looking good. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And the next slide is to punch holes in the 6 white dots around the edges. So for this, you need a hole puncher. For those of you who know how to annotate, we ask that you don't make shapes on our video. That would be very nice because the other kids are just trying to look at what we're doing. So please don't draw on my video. Thank you. So you can see here, I'm punching holes in all the white spaces. There's 6 of them. You can see that they're see-through. So if you don't have a hole puncher, you can maybe use a pencil, but make sure that you're safe with your pencil and poke away from your body and your face, or ask a grown-up to help you. Okay, so I'm gonna go on to the next slide. And we're still hole punching in this next step. Oh, my PowerPoint is paused. I'm just gonna stop sharing and reshare it maybe. Oh, there we go, it's working. Okay, so there's one more hole to punch out. You need to punch the hole in the center. Now for me, this was the most difficult step because as you'll see in my video, my hole punch didn't make it to the center, it's too small. So what I had to do is I had to fold it in the middle. You'll see me folding it. That's okay, if you fold it, it won't interfere with your pinwheel. And once you folded it, you can punch the hole in the middle. Here we go. And maybe since this is a hard step, I'll just replay it one more time. So my hole puncher couldn't reach, so I folded it in the middle. And actually at this moment, I want to give NASA Space Place a shout out. They were so kind and they shared this pinwheel activity with us. So thanks, NASA Space Place. Okay, so let me move on to the next slide now. So right now we're gonna say goodbye to our beautiful galaxy for a little bit, and we're gonna turn it over so you see the white. And you're going to now take your pipe cleaner and push it through the hole, like you'll see there. My yellow pipe cleaner saying hello. And you are going to now go around where all of your holes are, and one by one, fold your triangles into the center pipe cleaner. And you can see right away as you fold your second and third triangle, it's already starting to look like a pinwheel. And just one quick tip, with your other hand, you might have to hold down the folds you make. Otherwise, they might pop up for you. If you're not at the same step that I am, that's okay. It might be going a bit fast for everyone. But you'll get there, I know it. Okay, so now it looks like a pinwheel. I'm gonna go on to the next step. Now that we've made all of our folds, we have to make sure that the triangles don't slip out of the pipe cleaner. So we're gonna tie a knot in the pipe cleaner to secure the front of the pinwheel. I didn't do a full knot, like my pipe cleaner didn't go all the way through. I just made a little bit of a bump so that when I push my paper up, it doesn't fall out. So that's what the front looks like. And you'll see the back looks so cool. I unfortunately can't take questions because we have to leave time for Dr. Vila, but maybe afterwards, if anyone still has questions, I can stick around and help you. Next, we are going to wrap the other side of the pipe cleaner around a popsicle stick. Here's a tip, don't make it too tight or it won't be able to move. So the craft stick here, or the popsicle stick, is going to be your handle for the pinwheel. So now my pinwheel looks like it's ready to go. There's what the back looks like. There's a little bit of space. My pipe cleaner was a little bit shorter. You might have some extra space in your pipe cleaner, and that's okay. Now here's what happened to me. I thought my pinwheel was done. But when I tried to move my pinwheel, it was not working. So I had to look at my pinwheel and say, hey, what's the problem? Why isn't it working? So what happened was my popsicle stick was too close to my paper pinwheel and all of the folds were getting caught. So what I did for my problem is I just undid some of the pipe cleaner so that there would be more space. Now, if your pinwheel isn't working, you might get a little frustrated, but it's actually not something to get frustrated over. It's a fun problem to solve, just like engineers solve. So I unraveled my pipe cleaner and now it's turning like a professional pinwheel. Maybe your pipe cleaner is a bit too low. Maybe you have an extra fuzzy pipe cleaner. So if yours doesn't work right away, you can analyze it and figure out, hey, what's the problem? Since I solved my problem, my pinwheel is now ready to go. Look how fast it's going. I see Matilda's is working well. That's great, Matilda. Thumbs up. Okay, so that's it for me. We have the instructions. Like I said, not everyone might have finished. Not everyone might have had the supplies, but that is all right. We are now going to move on to the main event. I would like to introduce you to Dr. Begoña Vila, and she has a wonderful presentation to share with you. Everyone give her a wave.
Hello. I'm so excited to be with you today. So let me share my presentation and maybe Jupiter, Jen, can you tell me if you can see it okay?
Right now it's not full screen for us.
Okay, so, let me see. Let me try. Sorry, I don't know. Okay, maybe this one. It's still not full screen, or is it better now? No,
I see about three slides right now.
Okay, so let me.
Maybe if you go to view one more time.
Yes, let me see you and
And maybe.
Actually, if you play from start on the slideshow.
Is this good? Can you see it better now or not?
If you go to slideshow and press play from start, you should be okay.
Okay. Slideshow. Is that better?
We see it the same, but maybe everyone can still see it. Maybe if we try one more thing.
Let me see. Normal, maybe on a slideshow. Presenter view. Let me try. Is this any better or not? No, sorry.
Just one more thing. If Dr. E is listening, Dr. E from Mad Science, do you have any tips?
Hi, all. This is Dr. E. I actually liked what our friend Sharon just said to click on play from start. If that doesn't work,
yes.
Okay, did that work? Did you click that?
I did. Can you see it better?
No. Then can you please refresh your screen?
Okay. Let me stop sharing and start again.
We also have a lot of participants saying to.
Yep, that looks great. That looks great.
That looks good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for your help, all math scientists out there. I wanted to talk to you today, of course, about the James Webb Space Telescope, and we are going to launch very soon. So I'm super excited to be here with you. We are going to launch in December, very close to Christmas, on the 18th of December. So I wanted to have your help and confirm if we are ready for launch. Are all systems go? So you're going to see we need lots of skills to make this telescope and to make sure it works in the space. So I'm going to be telling you about it, and maybe you can think what kind of job you would like to do on this telescope if you were part of our team. So I think all of you maybe look at the sky once in a while, and you're able to see all the stars, maybe the moon, how it changes through its phases. And that's how we used to, in the olden days, many years ago, that's what the astronomers at that time did. They would look at the sky and they will see how the constellations changed when it was the summer or the winter, and how the moon changed, and they learn lots of things about the sky. And I don't know if you look at the sky once in a while. Do you all look up and try to find some of the constellations? You want to give me thumbs up if you do sometimes, and maybe you recognize some of them, right? Obviously, you can see the moon. That's very easy. Sometimes you can see planets, but maybe do you recognize, can you kind of see this constellation here, which is Orion, which is the winter constellation. So Orion is something you can see now that we are getting to winter, and maybe you are able to see it is the hunter. You see the bow and arrow is doing to shoot, and it has these 3 stars in the center. So this is a constellation that you can see very well in the winter. And when we were preparing for this talk, one of you, Lily, I believe, was asking what's the closest star to the sun, to us. And if you know how to find this constellation in the sky, you're going to find the closest star, because it's this one here on the bottom, which is called Rigel. And that's part of a group. It's actually 3 stars called Alpha Centauri. But even if it's the closest star to us, it's very far away. Do you know, we use in astronomy, because the distances are so big, we use something called a light year. How long will it take the light to travel for 1 year? And that's a long time because we cannot travel as far and as fast as the light. Well, this star is 4,600 light years to us. So even if we could go there, it's a really, we couldn't make it. So we are going to need, you guys, as you grow up and you become scientists and astronomers, we have to find better ways to travel in space so we can cover these huge distances. And then one of you also was asking, why can't we see the stars during the day? And I think all of you know the stars are still there, right? So this is a little bit of the blue sky, but we have the sun. The sun during the day gives so much light that we cannot see the stars behind it. But in here, you will see, if you were looking back, you will be able to see the stars behind. And you can see another constellation that I really like in the winter that maybe you're able to find, which is called Cassiopeia, which was an old queen. And Cassiopeia, if you want to find it in the sky, is like a W. I don't know if you see it very well on these slides, but it looks like a W. So anyway, so if you look at the sky, I think during the winter, try to find Orion and maybe Cassiopeia, and some of you might already know it. So that was good. In the olden days, that's what they used to do. But then there was this important scientist, astronomer called Galileo Galilei, which I think a lot of you know about maybe. Yeah, thumbs up, you know Galileo. And what did he invent? He invented a telescope, right? So once we have a telescope, then we can see things that are dimmer because it allows us to see things better in space. So then we evolved and we built all these fancy telescopes that you see here. The one here on the top is a telescope that can see like our eyes, and it's in La Palma. It's very big. It's 10 meters across. It's really big. We can also use telescopes. The one at the bottom are to look at the sun. So those different types of telescopes, because we have to be careful how we look at the sun. And then we have another type of telescope. Maybe some of you, do you know what type of telescope is this one? It doesn't have a mirror. It has all this metal and this big dish. Do you know what this telescope could be called? Don't know if I see any answers. Did one of you say a radio telescope? Then you are correct. It's a radio telescope, right? So it's a different telescope to look at light that is different from the other light. It's not like the visible light. So this brings us to the spectrum, right? How many kind of light do we have? So of course we have the visible light. We all know about that one, right? It's the one we can see with our eyes. And we have the telescopes here, and we can see up and see things in the sky. And then we have the radio, which is another part of the spectrum, which are radio wavelengths. And you all can hear radio wavelengths, right? You all listen to the radio. So that's a different kind of wavelength that for us is a sound. But then if you look at this is the Earth. And this is the atmosphere on top of the Earth. And these are all other wavelengths that are out there. We have gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, infrared, microwave. But see what happens, the atmosphere stops all that light from reaching the ground. So we cannot see any of that light from the Earth. So if we want to collect that light, we need to launch something above the Earth. So that's how we thought, okay, we need to launch satellites. We need to launch telescopes into space. And these are some of the telescopes that were launched to be able to look at all that other light from the universe. And here is one of those telescopes. Does one of you know which telescope this is? Let me know. Do you recognize? Can you think of any telescopes that are known, that are up there in the sky?
Maybe we can ask Matilda to answer. I see your hand raised. If you can unmute yourself, okay. Matilda.
Is it like a satellite telescope?
Yes, it's a satellite telescope that is going around the Earth. You see the Earth down there, how it's going around? Does anybody know the name? It's quite famous, maybe. I'm sure you heard about it.
Let me see. I see some people with their hands raised. I'm going to go to Sorry, your screens keep changing on me. I'm going to go to
Who I'm trying
Everett.
to see.
Everett. Do you know the name?
Hubble.
Yes, bravo. And I'm sure lots of you knew it was Hubble. Yes, so Hubble is around the Earth. It goes around the Earth, and it has been there for more than 20 years. There has been astronauts that have been to change instruments on Hubble, and Hubble is looking like our eyes mostly, is looking in the visible like we will do, but above the Earth. And it made very important discoveries, but here is one image that Hubble gave us, which I always really like. So this is a part of the sky that is only as big as a stamp that you put on an envelope in a letter. Do you guys still send letters to your friends, or you only talk by email, but sometimes you write a letter, right? Maybe for Christmas or to Santa, right? So we have a little part of the sky as big as a stamp, and we were looking at it from the ground here with the telescopes on the Earth, and we were saying that part of the sky is black. There is nothing there. We knew there was nothing there. So when Hubble went above the atmosphere, and it was around, and they said, well, let's check there is nothing there. So let's look at that part of the sky for 11 days. For 11 days, we are going to be looking at it and taking light. And this is the image that came down to the ground. Do you think there is nothing here? No, there is lots of things. Actually, there is like all of these things that you see there are galaxies. There are thousands of galaxies on these pictures. So that taught us something new that we didn't know from being on the ground. And it also tells us that the universe is huge. There is billions of galaxies, trillions, the bigger number you can think of galaxies and stars on this universe. So let's assume this is the first job you could be if you wanted to be on the James Webb. Maybe you want to be an astronomer, you want to be a scientist, and you want to be a scientist, and you're going to ask some questions. You're going to say, okay, so I know I have galaxies in the universe, and here we have a picture of one of the galaxies, and we did one galaxy today, right? We all did our beautiful penguin galaxy. And you want to know how were the galaxies formed, which some of you were asking in some of the questions. And we know they look like this now. We know galaxies have these arms, and they rotate around the center. And some of you were asking as well, and maybe why do galaxies rotate? And the astronomers are still trying to learn why this is happening. So when there is gas and dust, that gas and dust starts to clump together. And when it gets together, it gets heavier, and it forms little groups. And as it gets heavier and heavier, it becomes clumped together, and it becomes hotter, and it becomes to create gravity, effects of gravity on all the gas and dust around it. And that cloud of dust that gets together starts to spin. That's how the current theories think the stars are formed. This gas and dust starts clumping together with the gravity. It gets very hot in the center, starts making the star glow, but it starts spinning. And then it starts gathering any other gas and dust that's around it. And eventually it becomes, forms the planets, or it gathers more stars and it forms galaxies. So yes, all the galaxies spin around the center, and the galaxies are very thin, very flat. It's similar. Have you guys seen a baker making a pizza? Or have you guys tried making a pizza? You start with a round ball. You guys haven't tried making a pizza, but you have seen. Have you seen in the movies how the pastry person turns it around and spins it around, and then it becomes a very thin pizza? That's how galaxies form, and they become a flat and circling around the center. So we know how our galaxy looks like. Our galaxy looks a little bit like this one, but it has like a bar in the center, and we live in one of the arms. But when we look back in time, if we are looking for younger galaxies, you see on the bottom of this picture, younger galaxies look different. So we don't know yet how do we become from these earlier galaxies to the galaxy where we live, which is our own galaxy. So that's one of the things. Maybe if you were a scientist or an astronomer, you will say, I would like to know how the first galaxies form and how did they change to make the galaxy where we live. And maybe you will want to also know, well, how are stars and planets formed? And we know that the stars and planets form where there is lots of gas and dust. And here you can see a picture. We know in here there is a lot of stars and planets being formed, but we cannot really see them with our eyes. But we can look at a different wavelength. The image that you see on the right is infrared. It's a different type of light. And the infrared light goes through gas and dust. The infrared light, have you guys seen these movies where it's dark at night and there is the bad guys are going around and you cannot see where they are, and then you put these glasses on? Do you remember seeing these glasses? And then you notice the heart and you notice that you don't remember seeing movies like this? Okay, well, that's the infrared. And I think on a math science, you got an example. Maybe you can check it online. Dr. Hart brought an infrared camera. And I think you guys will be able to see what you can see on the infrared, which is a different kind of light. So the infrared lets you look through, like here, you're able to see things that we cannot see with our visible eyes. So maybe if you're an astronomer, you will say, okay, if I want to look at stars and planets, I'm going to look on the infrared. That might be a good idea that you think of. And the other thing, if you're an astronomer or a scientist, maybe you want to look for other planets like the Earth around other stars. And how are we going to do that? Well, this is something that you might do. Here is the light. You can see on the bottom is the light of the star that you're looking at. And that star is very bright. But when you see a planet go in front of that star, it takes a little bit of the light away. So then you see the light of the star go down a little bit. And if you were observing that star and you see the light going down, you go, why is the light going down? And then you realize, oh, a planet went in front. So then maybe you are looking for planets and you will say, hey, I found a planet. This star has a planet because I saw the light go down. So I know it has a planet. So that's something that some astronomers do. And maybe some of you want to be astronomers when you grow up, and that's what you want to do. So lots of astronomers have been looking for planets around us. And we had a question, I think somebody called C, how many planets are around other stars? So the first time we didn't know the first planet around other star was found in 1995. Were you guys born? How many of you were born in 1995? No, I bet not many of you, I think. So, you know, not too long ago, I think none of you were born. 20 years ago or so, we didn't know before then if there were planets around other stars, but then somebody found one and we said, hey, there are planets around other stars. And then we sent telescopes to look for those planets. And now we have found more than 7,000 planets. So that's great. We have planets around other stars. Some of you were asking, well, do they have life? Well, we don't know yet. So if you are an inquisitive astronomer, you are going to say, well, I want to know if they have life. So one way of knowing if a planet has life is to look at the atmosphere of that planet. So if you went up in space, maybe you're an astronaut or you are a satellite, and you're looking down at the Earth and you look at the atmosphere of the Earth, and this is what you will see. This is a spectrum. Are you guys familiar with what a spectrum is? We are breaking the light. Yeah, I see some of you saying yes, right? We break the light. It's like when you put a prism and you break, instead of white light, you have all the colors. You break down each of the colors, each of the elements. So the same happens in the atmosphere. If you look at the atmosphere, you're going to see these lines, and we are going to know that this light here is blue light. We know that planet is blue. Oxygen, here we see this dip on this spectrum tells us this planet has oxygen. This dip over here tells us this planet has water. This dip over here tells us this planet has methane. So we know how the Earth looks like from the top. If we look at the atmosphere of the Earth, we know it has these elements. So that's what we want to do. We want to look at those 7,000 planets, start looking at their atmospheres and say, how many of them have oxygen, carbon dioxide, methane, things that we think we need to form life as we know it. So, you know, that's a very cool question to say, okay, well, how do I know which planets could have life? So if you were this astronomer, you came up and said, hello, I want to build a telescope, and I want a telescope that will tell me how were the first stars formed, how were the first galaxies formed, can I keep looking for planets, and can you tell me if planets, I want to see if planets have an atmosphere like the Earth. So you asked for this 25 years ago, and then NASA and other important people said, great idea, let's build a telescope that can do that. And then to help them, you are going to say, but this telescope has to look on the infrared, okay? This particular wavelength, because I know that's what I need to look for these things. So this is how James Webb was agreed upon or thought of. All these important scientists, all these clever scientists said, can we do this? And then it was agreed. And this is, if you had James Webb in front of you, you can see it behind me. Maybe can you see a little bit? There is kind of a model. Oh, let me move this way. You can see a little bit of James Webb, an example there. Can you see it? So if you see, can you see it okay? This is a model of the James Webb. Thank you. So if you saw, this is, and you have to know about this a little bit because you know it's going to launch in December. So you're going to explain it to your parents and all your friends. You're going to say, stay there. I'm going to tell you all about this telescope, okay? So look, it has a big mirror. So this is one of the things that we are going to know. It's a big mirror that's made of 18 smaller mirrors. We are going to talk a little bit why that is. And those mirrors are gold because they are covered in gold. For sure they are. We are launching gold into space. The light comes through this. It hits back and it goes through this mirror here. You cannot see it, but this is another gold mirror. And then from there, it goes to this black thing that you can see on the back. And it goes to the back thing because on the back, you cannot see it, are the instruments that are going to take all those images and all those spectra that you as a scientist wanted. But then the other thing that's special about James Webb is this. It's a sun shield. It's like a beach umbrella. It's really big. If this was with you at your house, this part is as big as a tennis court. Does any of you play tennis? No? Do any of you play tennis? No, but you have seen a tennis court. You see how big it is, right? So this is a really big telescope. So this is a special umbrella called the sun shield that's going to help keep the instruments very cold. So this was a great idea to design it. So we are going to think about all the things that we need to do this telescope. So the scientists, so now maybe you want to be an engineer. The scientists told you what they wanted to look at, and you came and said, I am going to design a telescope that can do what you needed to do. And this is the design I came up with. So maybe you're somebody that likes to do designs. Here you can see a little bit the real size of the James Webb. You can see a few of the people. You will be, some of these people will be you, depending on the kind of things that you like to do. So maybe you want to work on one of the instruments. Maybe you, when you grow up, you will want to be on a telescope. You don't want to be the scientist, but you said, yes, I'm going to help build for you the telescope that you need to do the science. So I want to be an engineer that's going to build one of the instruments of James Webb. So James Webb has 5 instruments, and they are here put together, special together. So these instruments are mounted on the back of the mirrors. So you don't see them, but by the time you put them all together, you don't see them. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of the instruments. James Webb is a huge telescope, and it's not done only with NASA. It has people from the Canadian Space Agency. I know some of you here are from Canada, right? And I think some of you are from Europe. because James Webb is so big that we also have to collaborate with the European Space Agency. And then some of you are from other parts, but you can participate on James Webb. Once it's on orbit, everybody can look at the sky with it. So let's see a little bit about the instruments. This is how one of the instruments looks like. This is the instrument that was built in the United States, in the University of Arizona. So maybe you live in the US and when you grow up, you want to build instruments like this one for another space telescope. You can see all the little pieces it needs. So when you build this instrument, and you can see here on the right, the kind of images it's going to take. This is like a camera. It's going to take images on the sky in the infrared. When you are going to build this instrument, we are going to need, some of you might like mechanical things. You like to build things. You like to work with metal. You like to bend things together. You like to design metallic things. Yeah, I see a thumbs up. So maybe you can be a mechanical engineer. But maybe some of you like electronic things. You like to turn things on and off, and we need to do that for the instruments. We need to turn them on, turn them off, ask them to do things, move wheels. So maybe you want to be an electrical engineer. Now, some of you know, okay, I see some of you mechanical versus electrical. Okay, maybe some of you like software. Do any of you like to do things with your software and build little programs? Oh, okay, some of you can be mechanical and software engineers, because we need to command the instruments. We need to tell them what to do. We need the telescope to tell them what to do. So we need software engineers. And maybe you like optical things. You would like to work on the mirrors and know how everything reflects. So that could be, okay, so you see, we need lots of people. We need lots of you to be able to build this telescope. So this is for one of the instruments, NIRCam. Now we have another instrument. You see it again there. You see how it's built from little components at the beginning. And this NIRSpec is an instrument that comes from Europe, from the European Space Agency. And so maybe if you are in Europe, you might want to participate on a collaboration and build a telescope. And here you can see it has a spectra. It produces some of those spectra that we looked at before to look at the atmosphere of those planets. And here is another instrument called MIRI. And this one comes from Europe as well. So again, maybe, you will want to help with this. And here is the other instrument, which comes from Canada. So maybe those of you in Canada, you might want to take part and build this telescope, which is where I started. I started building this instrument in Canada with the Canadian Space Agency, and then I came to work for NASA. This instrument here has a top part, which is going to help us keep the observatory steady. So when we take a picture, it's not a moving picture like when you take a camera. But the bottom part is a science instrument. And this science instrument can look for those planets around other stars. Maybe you can see the picture on the side, and you can see if I took these two pictures, the one on the left has a little blob of blue. So that will be a planet. So if I took this picture on the ground, I will say, hey, apart from the star, I can see a little blob. This star has a planet. If I took the picture on the right, I will say, no, I don't see any blobs. This star does not have a planet. For example, that will be something you could do. Okay, so maybe you prefer to work with the mirrors. So you don't want to do the instruments, you want to do these beautiful gold mirrors. So that will be another thing that you need to do. And you can see here on the picture, we have 18 mirrors. Why? Well, we have to launch this telescope into space. You guys have seen the rockets, right? The rockets are not very big. So this was great. You had a great design and going, this will work really well. Well, how do I launch this into space? This sun shield, this beach umbrella, that's as big as a tennis court. How do I send it to space? There's nothing where it can fit in. So you think about it. Ooh, somebody there has an idea. What are you going to do? Yes, it doesn't fit. If I have it open like this, I cannot fit it inside the rocket. So
do we want to maybe
we are going to fold it? Yeah, do you want to answer?
Kushagra, do you have an idea for us?
Yes, and it's not Kushagra, it's Kushagra. I think.
Kushagra, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I've seen this in real some of the telescopes that they fold the parts in a certain way so it's smaller and still the engine is out. And I've seen it in videos. They fold the parts in certain ways. And I have a question too.
Okay, we'll see if we could take your question. What's your question? Oh, I have to unmute you again. Oh, maybe we'll come back to you, okay? But thank you so much for your response.
Thank you. You had the right answer. We have to fold it. We have to make it so we can fold it. So we need to fold the mirrors. We cannot send a big mirror, so we are going to make it like a map with a great answer. Let's make not a single mirror, but let's make 18 smaller mirrors that we can fold. And then we'll open them when we are in space. And we have this big this big beach umbrella. Let's fold it like the ones we take on the beach, and we'll open it once we are in space. So then it will fit inside the rocket. Great idea. So let's look at the mirrors. Here are the mirrors. Can you see them? Can you see 18 mirrors here? And can you see this one on the top is the secondary mirror. And this is a clean room. It's a room where we have to work, where everything is super clean. Here in Goddard, I'm actually next to it as I'm talking with you. And you see how the mirrors have some special covers on top because the mirrors are looking up. The mirrors are facing up. So if you think any dust that's falling from the top is going to land on the mirrors and it's going to make them dirty. So we don't want that. So as soon as we put them together like that, we cover them so they don't get dirty. And we keep them there until we are ready to use them. So let's see what happens. Can you guys see this very cool picture? Can you see two gentlemen or two people? I don't know. One of them could be a lady working. They're removing. We told them we are ready to use the mirrors. Can you please remove the covers? So maybe now that we're thinking about jobs, maybe some of you want to do this job. You want to work in the clean room. And when we need to do things with the telescope, we are going to tell you, can you please go and do this? And you go in the clean room and you can remove the covers or you can attach things to the telescope. So maybe some of you want to do that. So that's another job that we need to be able to build this telescope. And one thing perhaps some of you have been noticing, have you noticed something special about in all the pictures I have been showing how the people look like when they are working near the instruments or the mirrors, for example? Can you tell me what you have noticed?
Okay, I'm gonna look for someone's hand who's raised. I'm going to put your hands up really high so I can see you. Okay, I'm going to go to Anika. Anika, if you could unmute yourself.
Yeah, so they wear special suits, and I think it's so that activity so that things don't get damaged while they work.
Perfect answer. You guys are very clever. I think you're almost there to be part of this telescope team. Exactly. Every time we go to work with anything we are sending to space, we have to wear these special suits. And I don't know if you can see it. I have an example with me. You see there, you see somebody, not somebody, it's not a real person, but she's with me. Let me see where I move here. She's with me and is wearing this special suit. We have to cover because we humans are not very clean. You know, we have hairs that fall or beer in our face. Our fingers are sticky. We have oils, you know, so if we touch things, we are going to get them dirty. So we always have to be really clean, really before we can get near the telescope. So that's something that we have to do. Oh, and then something else we have to think about is you're going to use a rocket to launch something into space, right? But the rocket is only able to lift a certain amount of weight. So one thing you can think about is how can I make everything I build as light as possible? So we have another job for you if some of you want to do it. Materials. I mean, can you give me a material that is really light, but I don't want it to break and I want it to work well in cold temperatures? So you came up and said, yes, I have this special material for you. And you cannot be here with me, but this is a piece of steel. You have steel at home. Steel is very strong, so I know it's not going to break, but steel is very heavy. So if I put a lot of things of steel, my telescope is going to be very strong, but I won't be able to find a rocket that can launch it out of space. I don't have the power. So instead of that, the clever material team came up with a new material, a composite material. It's a special material. It's as strong as steel, but you cannot have it with you, but it's much lighter. So I can build a lot with this, and it won't be as heavy. So what I did before is I have a scale. So you guys, in case, I have a scale with me, and I put both of them on the scale, and I wanted to show you so you can see. If this is in grams, I decided to use an international unit that we have to use. So this is grams, and you can see my piece of steel is 819 grams. And then when I put my other material, it's 141. It's 8 times lighter. I can do 8 times things, put 8 times more things in this telescope and still be able to launch it into space. So maybe some of you want to work in this special field, which is special materials to go into space. And then we are going to talk about the sun shield. So this sun shield is this beach umbrella that is going to be exactly like that. It's going to keep the instruments cold. You said James Webb has to be infrared. Infrared is heat. I think, again, if you remember with Dr. Hart, we all emit heat. You're looking for these stars and these galaxies that are very faint. So if everything around you is very warm, you're not going to see them. So we need to cool down the instruments and the mirrors, very cold. And to do that, we use the sun shield. It's like being under a beach umbrella on the beach. The sun shield is like having a protection factor of 10 million. It's going to let the instruments get really cold. And the mirrors, the sun shield is made of another special material. So maybe if you guys wear this material, you will have given me this. It's a special material called Kapton. It's thicker than my hair. You cannot really see it there, but it's a special thing. So I am going to make all these bonded together to make my sun shield, and then I'll be able to fold it. And when I am in a space, it's going to open up. So this will be something special that you could have made for this telescope if you are working on the team. Okay, so moving along, because now we are going to launch this on a rocket. We are going to launch it on an Ariane 5. Okay, Ariane 5 is from the European Space Agency. It was something else that the Europeans contributed to James Webb. So maybe you want to work on the launcher. You want to work on a rocket. You want to learn how to build rockets and how to launch things into space. So that's another job you could do. Now, when you launch something into space, I think you guys have seen movies. That rocket is going to shake a lot and it's going to be very noisy. It's going to make a lot of sound. So when you launch something into space, you have to make sure you can test it and make sure it can survive being shaken a lot. You don't want it to fall to pieces. Go into space and one of the things fell off, and that wouldn't be very good. So you have a test team that's going to make sure whatever you launch into space can survive that jump with the rocket when it leaves the atmosphere. But then, and here it is, here you see this, you see the telescope being folded. This is the clean room where we work, but then we needed to test the telescope and the mirrors. You can see again the team wearing the bunny suits to make sure, and here is the telescope folded, the mirrors are behind, and it's being protected so we can go and test it for vibration and acoustics. The other thing that's going to happen on James Webb is going to be very cold. It's going to be minus 233 centigrades, minus 388 Fahrenheit. So you guys know when you put things in the freezer, they change, right? You put the water, it freezes, it changes how it behaves. So you have to test what you're going to launch into space to those conditions as well. So you see here, this is, can you see it here? It's a chamber, and you can see the instruments are going down the chamber. This is going to be a huge freezer. We are going to put the lid that you see on the side. We are going to put vacuum. We are going to cool it down to minus 233 centigrade. And we are going to see if all the instruments work as they should. And you see here, can you see the people down here wearing the bunny suits? They're at the bottom working on it. And you can see some people on the top to give you an idea how big this is. So maybe you are part of the test team. You want to be able to set up the instruments for the testing. So that will be something else you need to do. And then later on, once we put the mirrors, the instruments are behind the mirrors. Once we put the mirrors, can you see it here, the big mirror and the secondary mirror here? We needed a bigger chamber to go cold. So we went to this chamber. Can you see the door here? And can you see the people with the bunny suits? Again, still bunny suits. So this is really big. This is 8 floors high. This door is about 2 floors, but then there is another 6 floors. This is a huge chamber in Houston, the same chamber where we did the testing when we went to the moon in the Apollo programs. So this is, we put the telescope there, we pull the vacuum, we cool it a lot, and then we can test it and make sure everything works in these very cold temperatures to make sure everything is going to work. Otherwise, the scientists are not going to be very happy with you if you launch something into space and then it doesn't work. So you have to make sure it works.
I just have one quick thing to say before we go on. We're almost at 1, but Dr. Vila has just a few more slides to share with you. So I think I'm going to let her finish. Hopefully you guys can all stay with us. Hopefully you guys don't have pressing appointments that you need to get to. So I'm going to do the prize giveaway, and I'm going to tell you all about NASA's challenge in about 5 or 10 minutes. And hopefully you can stay on with us. If you win the prize and you log off, we'll still email you. It's no problem. And you could also catch the end of the presentation on our YouTube channel if you need to sign off. So we're just going to go a little bit over time, and we hope that you can all stay with us.
Thank you, Jupiter Jen. Apologies for taking this long. Okay, so I'm going to go very fast. Here is the instruments. You can see the sun shield there. Here it is all mounted together. So a quick thing I wanted to say, another job that we need people for is how do we transport? How do we take this big telescope all around? And you can see it here. We have a special container, and that special container is driven, this special truck, and can go in the back of a military plane. And that's how we move it from Maryland, where I am, to Houston, to Los Angeles, which is where the sun shield was, to make it together. And then just at the end of October, we used that same container, but we went by boat in this humongous boat. The truck and James Webb were inside, and we went through the Panama Canal to the French Guiana, which is where we are going to launch it from. And you can see here the rocket. And the James Webb is on the top. Can you see it here? And it will launch from there on December 18th of this year. So once we launch it into space, though, you still not need to send the commands. You need to do things. So you might be part of the team that's going to operate the telescope once it's on orbit. And we have special rooms in Baltimore. Maybe you have seen it in movies as well. You can see here the control center for James Webb. You can see me. I'm lucky enough to be also part of the team for commissioning. I was also part of all the test activities. And here is a picture of me when I was a little girl. So this is to encourage all of you, girls and boys, that, you know, at your age, you can do something like this if you would like to do in any of the jobs that you were thinking about doing when you grow up. You see, we need lots of people to do this telescope. And this is all I had. I just wanted just to play. I'm going to just play with you the launch. Hopefully it plays how things are going to unfold once we are on orbit. Maybe Jupiter Jen, if I don't know if you want to take over whilst I play this. You can see it here, how everything is going to open up once we are in space. The antenna, the solar array, that sun shield, that beach umbrella, and the mirrors. And you can see the instruments there on the back. So thank you for having me today. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vila. Actually, if we could just, I think if we could take 1 or 2 live questions just before you before you leave us. So raise your hands really high, and I'm going to go to someone who I haven't heard of. I'm going to go to Carmela. Carmela, do you have a question for us? I'm going to unmute you, Carmela.
Why isn't there any green stars?
No green stars. Okay, so the stars have different colors depending on how hot they are. So to our eyes, they always look yellow or orange or blue because they have a lot of energy. They are when they burn, the hydrogen and helium in the center, that's the light that we can see. But you can have brown and you can have later on black. So it's just what we see from those stars depending on how hot they are.
And I think I have time for one more question. I'm going to go to Jeremy Y. Jeremy Y, if you can unmute yourself.
How heavy is the telescope, the James Webb Telescope?
Okay, the James Webb is 6,500 kilograms. That's like 3 or 4 cars on top of each other. So and that's the most we can fit in for Ariane 5 to take into space. That's how the heaviest you can be.
Okay, so thank you so much. We know you guys have tons more questions. I know you guys learned a lot. Your minds are probably buzzing and racing right now, and we hope that you've had a good time. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do the prize giveaway. So I'm going to share my screen once more, and I'm just going to go to the proper slide, and I can show you what the prize is. So we are giving away Mad Science's award-winning STEM subscription box called Loop Lab. So what this is a gross science box, and in here you will find what you need to make a foaming fountain, a DIY ooze ball, and ghost goo, which are all really gross, but all really fun to experiment with. So I have all your names in here. And if you're from the Netherlands, you'll recognize this as a stroopwafel container, which is a delicious treat. So we're giving away 4. So this is the first winner. Here we have Inez Nafis. Hopefully I'm pronouncing everyone's names correctly. Next. Helen Dunlap. Congratulations, Helen. Maybe we can get a drum roll going for the last 2 winners. I can hear your drum rolls even though you're all muted. Good job. Next winner is Ethan Katz. Congratulations, Ethan. And our final winner is Saranya Raj. So congrats to all our winners. You're all winners, I think, because you were able to hear Dr. Vila's speech, but congrats to the winners of our Loop Lab draw. So if you want to find out more about our STEM subscription box, we have 9 different themes available right now, and you can find that all at shop.madscience.com. And then I have one more really cool thing to tell you guys about, and I'm going to go back to my slides here. And this is NASA's Unfold the Universe Challenge. So you guys learned a ton today, and we want to take what you learned, and we want you to share this with NASA. So what do you think the Webb Telescope is going to reveal? So they're asking you to create some art. You can draw, you can paint, you could sing, you could write, you could dance. The universe is the limit. So you can share it with NASA on #UnfoldTheUniverse. And if you just type in Unfold the Universe in NASA, you can find out all the details. If they really like what they see, they'll put you on their website. If it's extra special and catches their eye for whatever reason, they might even put you on the launch broadcast. They might put your artwork on the launch broadcast. So that's really cool. So even if that doesn't happen, we think it's really awesome that you participate in this and show us what you think the Webb Telescope will see, and maybe what you draw will actually be what it finds. So I think that's it for us today. We want to thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for staying with us extra long. I'm actually going to throw it back to Dr. Vila in case she has some closing words.
It was a pleasure to be with you all. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm actually going to try and unmute everyone as we sign off. So you can all say bye to us. And you can show us your pinwheels as we say bye. Let me just ask you all to unmute in 3, 2, 1.
You told us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. 22 people.
Bye.